December is a month of celebration. It's a time to celebrate the holidays with family and friends. I hope you've been able to enjoy the holidays with your family and friends. I want to encourage you to make it a point to show someone who is struggling that you care, because the holidays can be hard for some of us, especially adoptive parents. December is also a month of reflection over the past year, a reflection of unforeseen life events, of dreams and goals, whether realized or not. And December is a month of anticipation for the new year, a time for a fresh start, a blank slate, and new pursuits. December is also a month where a lot of us select our word for the coming year, a word to provide a compass and guidance and direction as we anticipate the challenges and the aspirations of the coming year. Hi, my name is Tim Maudlin, husband, adoptive parent, disciple of Christ, and ambassador of encouragement. I want to welcome you to another unplugged episode of Anchors of Encouragement. I'm coming to you from my outdoor studio because I want to show you how I do what I'm going to encourage you to do, and that is to select a word for the coming year. This is how the sausage is made. It's not perfect, but it is effective. And just before hitting the record button on my phone, I was walking back and forth and looking over some notes that I had made earlier and gathering my thoughts so I could present them to you. So there's going to be some noises that otherwise aren't in my episodes. I want to focus rather on the birds that I can hear singing. They haven't a care in the world. I want to focus on them and just enjoy the milder temperatures that we're being blessed with today. The coming year is a way to set your intention with a word that resonates with you. Have you decided on your word? I've had some ideas over the past few days that I'm toying back and forth with. I really haven't settled in on one word yet. Actually, I have two different words that I'm thinking about using, and I might just go with both words. You know, the thing about selecting a word for the year, that seems to be the norm of those of us who do select a word for the year. But just like my podcast is an example, there are no rules. You know, I'm coming to you outdoors with the noises as they are. There are no rules. So who's to say you can't have two words? And I'll get to why I'm considering two different words in just a moment. The way I approach this process and what I want to encourage you to do today is to go through some different prompts with me. And these are some things that I'm going to share my approach and the steps I've been taking that have gotten me to the point where I do have a couple of words. I'm not going to reveal them today, save that for the new year. But I do want to walk you through the process I've been going through over the last week or so as I'm thinking, I really want a word to provide me that compass and guidance and the direction for the coming year. So I've asked myself questions like this: where am I on my adoption journey? What challenges am I facing on my adoption journey? Where do I need encouragement? And is there a word that describes these answers for me? There's a word that has popped up in my journaling over this past year, and it's not the word that I'm considering using, but it's a word that I believe describes my adoption journey. It's the word wilderness. A lot of times the adoption journey feels like a wilderness. There are a lot of unknowns. There are a lot of challenges. And the adoption journey requires a lot of faith to navigate it. And as I was thinking about this concept of a wilderness and the adoption journey, this came more into focus for me, no pun intended, but it came more into focus for me on a recent visit to my eye doctor. The other day I went to have my eyes examined. It's been a few years now since I've had my eyes examined, and I realized that, or I have realized for quite a while now, that the prescription I currently have is not working as it did when I first got it. As I was talking to the eye doctor, I said, for someone who had 20/15 vision as a young person, I see or I notice those slight alterations in my eyes. And he said, yeah, that's the thing. When you've used to having really extremely good eyesight, when it starts to go, and age will do that, when it starts to go, you notice even the slightest deterioration. And so he was going through the exam with me. And those of you who have glasses, you know how that works. You'll see a line of type, and he'll have you read it, and then you'll be presented with option 1 or option 2. Which one is best, 1 or 2? One is fuzzier than the other, and the other is clearer. And so I was going through that. And as I was working through it, he was saying to me, he was trying to intensify the magnification so I could read the type when I'm using these as bifocals, because I have progressive lenses, and that gives me the option to see distance sharper, but also to see up close and to read. So he was working that through, and we went through back and forth through a number of, is this better, 1 or 2? And sometimes it was 1, sometimes it was 2, but we kept going through that until it was settled in on what my prescription should be. That story is a metaphor that I'm using to describe my choice for a word or words this year. One of the words that I'm considering is like the fuzzy version, where it's not quite as sharp. And what I mean by that is I can see it, but because it's fuzzy, I want to become clearer on that word and the concepts that word gives me, and the direction that word gives me. Then on the flip side of that, there's another word that I'm considering, which it is crystal clear. It is so sharp. I can see it. And I can understand that that word would be a good direction. And so I'm poised with these two options. One is a little fuzzy, one is really sharp. Do I go with the sharp one and just discard the fuzzy one? Or vice versa, do I go with the fuzzy one and discard the sharp one? As I am working through this, and again, I'm giving you my process, I have narrowed it down to these 2 words. I've walked and thought about these words. I've journaled about these words. In fact, I have done a journaling audit, and am going to continue that audit over the next few days before the new year begins, so that I can get a little more clearer on which one or which ones to go with. I also mind map these words. And what I do, and this is something that for those of you who are regular listeners to the podcast, when a word resonates with me, what I will typically do to really dig into the concepts behind that word, I will take the word into a mind map and I literally flip it vertically and turn that word into an acronym. And then I flesh out concepts behind the overall word with words that start with each of the letters in the acronym. I've done that with the 2 words I'm considering this year. I have flipped these words vertically and have brought them into a mind map. The interesting point is the fuzzy word is actually a derivative of the clear word. That's why I'm leaning on going with both. That's my process. And again, I will reveal what I settle on here at the beginning of the new year. But I want to take you to now the Daily Doable and help you flesh this out for yourself. I want to encourage you to get pen to paper. That's typically where I start, is with pen to paper, and try to ask myself questions, and then with the answers I get from those questions, I start to get clarity on where I should go. So with pen to paper, answer these questions. Where are you on your adoption journey? What challenges are you facing on your adoption journey? Where do you need encouragement? How do you like to be encouraged? I want to encourage you to sit with those questions. The other thing I want to encourage you to do as you sit with those questions is to set the intention. This is another step that I haven't alluded to yet, but I will sit with those questions that I just asked you, and I will set the intention. In other words, just before bed, I will ask myself these questions and let my brain work on the answers overnight. I anticipate and expect a download. Now, sometimes it comes the next morning when I wake up. Sometimes, like last night, I woke up in the middle of the night and had a download. And rather than get out of bed, I grabbed my phone on the nightstand next to me, and I opened up my phone notes and jotted down a few of these concepts that came to me. Then this morning, I added those to my mind map. But I want to encourage you to ask yourself these questions, set the intention before you go to bed, and then with pen to paper, when you wake up, write these answers down. I believe that your word for the new year, or words, depending upon what resonates with you, will present itself in these answers. As we close this episode, I want to encourage you to share them with me if you want to. I will put a link to my email. It's tim@anchorsoфencouragement.com. It'll be in the show notes that you can click on. You can share these answers with me and maybe what words you're actually thinking about using. Or you can share them within our community, our Facebook community. I'll have the link for that in the show notes as well. You can private message me within the group, or you can share within the group and ask for feedback. There are other people going through the same struggles that you are. They're in that wilderness of the adoption journey, and they would be happy to help you. That's all for this episode. I want to thank you so much for joining me. I look forward to sharing with you what my words will be in the coming year, and I look forward to hearing from you, whether it's through email or whether you join our Facebook community. Either way, I hope that I can be an encouragement to you in the coming year, and that we can together navigate the challenges of our adoption journeys. Until next time, this is Tim, encouraging you to do what you can now.